before we kick off, I have a couple of housekeeping remarks. So thank you for participating in our remote meeting. We will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation. Before we begin, I want to review some guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence your other communication devices, such as your cell or desk phone, and this will ensure that we are not hearing any feedback or causing interruption during the meeting. After each agenda item, I will announce public comment. And for Zoom instructions, for those of you that are on Zoom, if you would like to make a public comment on the Zoom screen, please click on the raise your hand button. If you are using Zoom on your smartphone, tap your screen, look for the more option, and then raise hand button on the screen. And for those calling by phone line only, you can dial *9 on your keypad to signal that you would like to make a comment. Okay, back to the agenda here. So at this time, I see, well, Mayor Vargas, would you be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
My pleasure. Everybody, please stand up. Just right hand over your heart and join me as we honor our nation's colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Okay, that brings us to our roll call. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. District 1.
District 1 here.
District 5.
I'm here.
Corona.
Present.
Eastville.
Present.
Hemet.
Present.
Carupa Valley.
Here.
Menifee.
Is here.
Moreno Valley.
Here.
Marietta.
Here.
Norco.
Here.
Paris.
Here.
Wildemar.
Here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. That brings us to the public comment section of our agenda. So do we have any public comments for items not on the agenda? And have we received any public comments?
We have not received any written comments, and I do not see any hands raised currently.
I will give everybody a minute here. We talked about how to do it, and we've been doing the Zoom thing.
Hello, this is Ron Roy.
Yes.
This is Ron Roy. How are
Hi,
you?
Ron.
How are you doing? I have public comments.
Okay, 1 second. Let me read through something, and we'll call on you. Thank
Sure,
you, sir.
it's actually for item 8, if you allow for it.
Oh, do you want to wait until that item, or would you like to speak on it now?
I think I can wait till item 8 if it's not too far into the meeting.
Well,
Or if you want me to do it now, I can do it. Whatever is the preference of the commission.
hold on 1 second. Let me see here.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Lisa, I saw a shaking of your head.
If you can, you should speak when the item is presented.
Perfect. Let's do that. Thank you, Mr. Roy. We'll keep you in mind for when we get to that. Anybody else want to have a comment for something that is not listed on the agenda? Okay. Hearing none, that brings us to additions, revisions.
Hello, I'm sorry. My apologies. I had to step away for a moment.
That's fine. If you could please mute yourself until item number 8, sir, and we will call on you for public comment at that time.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That.
All right. So additions, revisions. Does anybody want to move anything around on the agenda at this time? Staff, public, members? Okay, hearing none. That takes us to item number 6, and that's approval of minutes. Are there any commissioners or members of the public wishing to speak on the minutes?
Move approval of the minutes.
Okay,
Second, Paris.
we have a first and we have a second. Roll call, please.
District 1.
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Corona.
Aye.
Eastville.
Aye.
Hemet.
Yes.
Harupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Aye.
Moreno Valley,
Aye.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Paris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. The minutes pass.
Excellent, thank you. That brings us to item number 7, and that's the County of Riverside funding request for construction of Harupa Road grade separation project. And looks like Jillian Gizzato, you're gonna be walking us through that one.
Good
Mr.
afternoon.
Chair,
Yes,
here really quick
I'm
before
sorry.
you get started, I have to abstain from this vote as that my company is working on the project.
Excellent, thank you. Appreciate you making us aware of that. Yeah, Jillian, please, go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, Chair Laura Moore and committee members. As many of you recall, in 2017, Senate Bill 1 or SB 1 was passed, which permanently increased statewide transportation funding. SB 132, essentially a companion bill, was also passed, which brought more than $400 million to 5 Riverside County projects, one of which is the Harupa Road grade separation project in the city of Harupa Valley. We have a map for you here. As seen on this map, it's located a ways south of the 60 and a ways east of the 15, pretty much smack in the middle of Harupa Valley. The Harupa Road grade separation has long been on lists of priority grade separations in Riverside County, and at one time even had local funds committed to it. Due to lack of full funding at the time, these funds were moved to another priority grade separation in Harupa Valley, Clay Street. As described in the agenda item, the Commission has a long history of prioritizing grade separation projects for use of local, state, and federal discretionary funds. At the time that SB 132 was passed, the total project cost for each of the 5 projects was likely outdated. SB 132 provides $108,400,000 to the Harupa Road grade separation project and requires that the funds be expended by June 2023. The County of Riverside's Transportation Department is the lead agency on behalf of the city of Harupa Valley and is responsible for delivering the Harupa Road grade separation project. Since the passage of SB 132, the county has been working to deliver the project. Here is an aerial photo of the Harupa Road at grade crossing as it exists today. On the left, you can see the train tracks running north and south. In the middle of the screen is Van Buren Boulevard, a principal north-south arterial. And toward the top, going west to east, is Harupa Road. The next and final slide here is a rendering of what the grade separation will look like when constructed. You can see Harupa Road is depressed below both Van Buren Boulevard and the Union Pacific Railroad tracks. So last month, the county opened bids for the construction phase of the Harupa Road grade separation project. Fortunately, the apparent low bidder came in right at the engineer's estimate. Unfortunately, this means the project is over the SB 132 budget by approximately $25 million. As such, on June 16th, the county sent a letter to the commission requesting help to fully fund the project so it can be delivered timely and to minimize the risk of Riverside County losing the $108 million of SB 132 funds if the project were to not be delivered timely. Staff analyzed various fund sources that the commission has discretion over and found that Measure A regional arterials, a local fund source available in Western County for the improvement of major local roadways, freeway interchanges, grade separations, and coordinated traffic signals, is the only eligible fund source available for programming on this project. Today, staff is recommending the committee program $25 million of Measure A regional arterial funds on the Harupa Road grade separation project to fully fund the project. To this end, staff is also seeking approval to enter into an agreement with the county to provide this funding. This concludes my presentation. I'm joined by staff from the county's transportation department, and we're all available to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Excellent. Appreciate the presentation. Are there any commissioners that have questions or would like to comment on this item? Okay, Mr. Bergson.
Yes,
Commissioner
thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to point out, this particular grade separation area is one of the longest standing ones that has been needing to be done in Riverside County for decades. One of the biggest issues that residents and emergency services face is when the railroad, which frequently, basically every single day, it stops at the Pedley station just to the south of that intersection. And quite often there's train cars still sitting on that interchange, causing the arms to stay down and traffic not to be able to get through that area. The SB 132 money certainly is a huge percentage of this. We were hoping that it would cover everything. Apparently it won't. So hopefully commissioners will also see the value in putting the additional 25 million. And the bottom line here is if the project isn't delivered in 2023, that's June of 2023, all that funding gets returned to the state and it doesn't get transferred to another project, it just disappears. So I'd like to see this project go forward and hopefully get the support of my fellow commissioners. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Do we have any other commissioners that have questions or comments on this item? Okay. I'm not seeing any. You can speak up. If you're not able to raise your hand, let me know. Okay. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? This is item number 7. Okay. Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion.
This is Benoit. I'll go ahead and move the item.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner. Yes.
Norco will second.
Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Hoffman. Roll call, please.
District 1,
District 1, yes.
District 5.
Yes.
I'm recording an abstention for Corona. Eastvale,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Harupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Moreno Valley,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. That item does pass.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. That brings us to item number 8, and that's an agreement for transit-oriented communities street plan. We have a presentation by Jenna Chan.
Hi, good morning, commissioners. I'm Jenny Chan, the Planning and Programming Manager at RCTC. Today, I'm requesting approval to award a contract for the Transit-Oriented Community Strategic Plan project to Stantec Consulting Services for a not to exceed amount of $950,000 for an 18-month base period with 2 additional 6-month optional terms. Before I dive into the project, I would like to spend a little time going over what exactly we're talking about when I say transit-oriented communities. Next slide. First, let's start with what is transit-oriented development. Transit-oriented development is a mixed-use, walkable development located within a quarter mile of a transit station or stop and is designed to encourage the use of public transit. These development use a compact land use pattern that mixes residential and human scale retail and commercial land use at densities that are typically higher than what you may find in a conventional suburban development. Next slide. Transit-oriented communities are essentially TODs, but applied to a neighborhood or corridor scale. With TOCs, we're not just looking at the development immediately around the transit stations, the development expands to areas within 3 to 5 miles of a station. Transit-oriented communities are neighborhoods that, by design, allow people to drive less, walk, cycle, and take more transit. This requires concentrating high-density, mixed-use, human-scale development around frequent transit stations in combination with supporting first and last mile mobility options. Next slide. In June 2020, the Federal Transit Administration awarded the Commission $700,000 in grant funding with a $250,000 local match commitment to develop the Commission's first ever transit-oriented community strategic plan. The study focuses on the 5-mile radius of each of the 8 Metrolink stations along the 91 Paris Valley line. These 8 stations are nested in established suburban communities, and economic activities around the stations have not been consistent throughout the corridor. The FTA grant enables the Commission to work with community members, private developers, and staff from the cities of Paris, Moreno Valley, Riverside, and Corona, and the March Joint Powers Authority to create a strategic plan for transit-oriented development within the 5-mile radius of each of the stations. The TOC strategic plan seeks to reduce or eliminate impediments to TOD by identifying regulatory actions and funding strategies to facilitate TOCs. The goals of the plan are to support local economic development, increase Metrolink ridership, and decrease auto trips, which improves local and regional traffic congestion. Next slide. To achieve these goals, a full list of the key activities to be completed during the study is provided in the staff report. Some of the major tasks are: 1, developing station area profiles, summarizing the existing conditions for the 8 Metrolink stations. Profile will include information such as existing planning and development policies, land use, zoning, socioeconomic trends, existing mobility options, and real estate market conditions. 2, implementing a robust multilingual public engagement plan to collect community and stakeholder feedback. The dialogue between the Commission and partner agencies and the community will shape the vision of what the 8 stations and areas around the stations will look like in the next 5 to 15 years. The plan will propose a station typology for each of the stations that is sensitive to the community character and needs and supported by real estate market conditions. The study will identify short, mid, and long-range actions for the Commission and partner agencies to implement in order to build out this vision, eliminate barriers to development, and help support the overall development of transit-oriented communities in Riverside County. Next slide. To accomplish these tasks, the Commission released the request for proposal for professional transportation planning services. Staff determined the weighted factor method of source selection to be the most appropriate for this procurement, as allows the Commission to identify the most advantageous proposal with price and other factors considered. Non-price factors included elements such as qualifications of firm and personnel and understanding and approach for the plan. 7 firms responded to the RFP. Utilizing the evaluation criteria as provided, all firms were evaluated and scored by an evaluation committee comprised of Commission, Riverside Transit Agency, and City of Corona staff. The evaluation committee recommends contract award to Stantec Consulting Services, who received the highest score. The RFP issued by the Commission only intended to solicit public feedback through the establishment of a community advisory committee. However, Stantec's proposal goes above the requirement and included additional outreach events to the greater community at large in a virtual environment. In light of the recent lifting of various health orders related to COVID-19, staff determined that a hybrid approach that provides both in-person and virtual community outreach event would be the most accessible and beneficial for the project. To accommodate the revised approach for outreach, additional scope and budget were added to this task in negotiating the final agreement amount to $924,224. Because the weighted score method was used to procure this professional service, even with the revised price, Stantec's proposal still received the highest overall score. Next slide. Staff recommends approval of agreement with Stantec Consulting Services to develop a TOC strategic plan for an 18-month base period with 2 additional 6-month optional terms in the amount of $924,224 plus a 2.8 contingency amount of $24,000 $25,776 for a not to exceed amount of $950,000. Upon completion of the study, staff will return to the commission with a presentation of the completed TOC strategic plan. The presentation will include a description of the preferred TOC typology for each station as vetted by the community and stakeholders. Alongside the preferred TOC typology, staff will highlight the necessary policy changes that the commission, cities, and March JPA will need to consider and adopt to achieve the preferred TOC typology. Today, I am also joined by Stantec's project manager, Anna Malitsky, and we both are available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for the presentation. Do we have any commissioners who have questions or would like to comment on this item? Yes, Mayor Vargas.
Just a request that we get a copy of this presentation, please. The meeting's over.
Sound like you have a party going on over there. Commissioner
All
Hoffman.
all five grandsons are in the same room. Guys. Sorry.
No, it's perfect. Commissioner Hoffman.
I just kicked my two little grandsons out, so I know you. One of the things, and a couple of questions, and I got that. On our staff report, you've got 5 areas. And you said there was 8 cities. Is that what it was, Jenny?
Eight stations.
8 stations. Okay, those are in the 5 cities then.
Correct.
Okay. That's, I just sort of corrected. And so this is going to look, and I noticed that you have the city of Corona. How much is this being mandated by the state? I know we see it's federal government. Are we getting mandates from the state to complete this?
No, we actually prepared a grant application to the FTA to want to study this.
Okay, so this isn't mandated yet, as of yet, by our state. And then the reason I ask that is when you do this, and I'm reading this, this is going to involve some, and again, this is the RFP for the study. So we're going to be looking at commercial zoning changes, perhaps housing, residential zoning changes around each one of these stations. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so have we reached out to each one of these cities for the input into their housing element, or this will change it naturally?
Right, so the cities will be part of the study. They will be sitting in as the technical advisory committee members, so they represent their cities. And our plan is to use, the outcome arena to help facilitate our study as well. And ultimately, the policy recommendations that we provide through the study, it's really up to the cities to determine whether or not they want to adopt, because the cities are the ones with the land use jurisdiction.
Correct, but it will affect their housing element plan, is that? If it goes
Correct.
through?
If the city chooses to adopt our recommendations.
Okay, so there's no mandatory that they have to. It's just
Correct.
This is a study only.
Correct.
Until the state mandates it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Yeah, my understanding is that this is strictly a study. It is not mandatory. There are recommendations that will come out of it. But thank you for the question. Commissioner Speak. Well, before we get to you, Commissioner, I see Ann raised her hand. Ann, could you add clarification, please?
Sure. Just to be clear here, we will be working with the jurisdictions to have conversations about what their general plan requirements are for those areas. We'll be incorporating their information into our study. I just want to make it really clear, we are not in any way going to be making recommendations that are contrary to what our jurisdiction's decision-making is related to land use. The goal here is to create a study and have a toolkit for those jurisdictions who have a desire to have transit-oriented communities, transit-oriented development. The goal here is to provide a toolkit and support for our jurisdictions' land use decisions about what they want to see around our transit stations. And the goal here with a consolidated plan is to be able to obtain other people's money to accomplish some of these objectives. But to be clear, these are the study in no way will there's no intent of superseding or stepping into land use conversations in any of our member agency jurisdictions.
We can't, right?
Yeah,
we can't.
We can't.
Right. So.
Nor do we want to.
Exactly. Commissioner Speak.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for those clarifications. And that was your last comment was my only question, which was, does this allow us to find money? Because we're trying to find. I think all of us are in the same boat with our arena numbers, and those of us that have transit corridors. Are lucky enough to have transit corridors. There's a ton of state legislation that's I guess depends on how you look at it. You tilt your head one way or the other, whether or not you think it's a good thing, some of these bills, or a bad thing. But I think this is a great opportunity for us to identify where these things are and how we can allocate those into our plans. I think those are very important. And at the same time, the funding is the key for everything, key for what we do, the key on the housing side. And frankly, as I've been saying, in fact, I have a call with the governor's office of planning and research to talk about economic development and how we tie those three things together: housing, transportation, and economic development. So glad to see all three tied in here. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Speak. Do we have any other commissioners wishing to ask a question or make a comment on this item? This is before we move to our asking the public. Okay. Seeing none, at this time, do we have any members of the public? I know that Mr. Roy, you had indicated earlier that you would like to speak.
That's correct.
Okay. Sir, you have 3 minutes. Please, go ahead.
Thank you very much, committee members. I've been reviewing RCTC's Transit-Oriented Communities Plan for 2021, and I have a concern about the significant omission of active transportation in the plan, particularly bike lane infrastructure, especially in light of the fact that of the explosion of bike sales and use over the last year and a half. According to Table 19 of the study, pedestrian, cyclists, and transit users are expressing safety concerns regarding alternative transportation infrastructure. Respondents also stated that they need more options for long distance trips across county subregions and into neighboring counties. Well, cycling infrastructure provides an ideal option here, given that there's a large cycling constituency out there that cycles through multiple jurisdictions for commuting and for fitness. I'm requesting that the 2021 TOCP consider revision to put more emphasis on cycling infrastructure, such as my proposal, the PassLink Regional Alternative Transit Route, and other forms of active transportation. The PassLink Regional Alternative Transportation Route is a proposed 45-mile bike route system that will run from Redlands to North Palm Springs via San Mateo Canyon and the San Gorgonio Pass. Please note that this route runs virtually entirely through Supervisorial District 5, including the past communities of Cabazon, Banning, Beaumont, Calamasa, and unincorporated San Mateo Canyon. So I'm bringing it up at this public meeting on the record so that my supervisor is aware of this, and I need him to take action. I'd like him to take action to see that this route is built. I suggest that RCTC draw from the award-winning Coachella Valley Link, or CV Link, for inspiration. CV Link is anchored by the Whitewater River and transitions from the river to numerous Coachella Valley cities to vastly improve multimodal connectivity throughout the valley. Although there are economic and environmental benefits to alternative transportation, according to WRCOGS, WRCOG's 2018 alternative transportation plan, the most important reason to build cycling infrastructure is to prevent cycling injuries and fatalities. I do like to point out that I appreciate that they're developing a plan for communities to look at. And it seems in this particular context around Metrolink transit hubs, I know where we live up in the past communities, I'm a past resident, they're talking about a transit station, a Metrolink station. So hopefully that can be incorporated in the city. That's a Coachella Valley Regional Rail. So again, I want to thank the committee very much for considering my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Do we have any other members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Okay. Hearing none, unless there is further discussion or questions on this item, yes. Commissioner Zimmerman, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. Just wanted to, and I think I brought this up before, it has to do with maybe it's RCTC's policy regarding contingencies. And in the past, we've talked about, we understand contingencies are usually put in place for unforeseen things in the field during construction. And when we're doing a study like this, I don't know that a contingency of, I think it's, what is it, $25,000 is warranted. So I was just kind of curious if maybe Director Mayer can shed a little light on why staff's recommending a contingency for a study.
Sure, and we frequently include contingencies in most phases of project development, from planning through construction. Specifically in a planning phase, as we've negotiated the contract with the consultants, we have very specific tasks. They have very specific, deliverables that they have to achieve. But let's give an example. I'll use City of Paris, Mayor Vargas. I think they're starting to do a lot of work related to transit-oriented development downtown Paris. And let's say in our conversations with the City of Paris, that because of some work that they had done, they wanted us to incorporate additional scope into our study that we hadn't anticipated. If we don't have a contingency there, we aren't able to make those modifications. And even at relatively modest levels, let's say it's just additional work that we need to do for an extra week, and it's $5,000. I'm making up numbers here. But if we don't have that contingency there, we would have to tell the City of Paris that is not included in our scope of work and in the listed tasks and deliverables for our consultant. We're not going to be able to do that. We're going to have to go back to the commission to ask for that. So generally in a planning study, and sometimes it's even more, construction is obviously where you really need to make sure you have the contingency. But in a planning study, especially in coordinating with so many different jurisdictions, we wouldn't be able to be nimble in responding to requests for information or coordination if we had to ask our consultants to do additional work. And the other thing too, we try to be very fair with our consultant community, in that if we've negotiated a contract, and a lot of work goes into negotiating a contract, that we don't want to say, well, can you just do this little extra thing? If you don't do this for us, it will, we'll be delayed for 6 weeks and then we'll be behind schedule. Could you just do this for us? And we really need, we really put a lot of effort into making sure that if we're asking a consultant to do work that we feel is within the scope, that they're adequately paid for that. So that's why we would have a contingency here, especially on a planning study of this kind.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I appreciate hearing your rationale. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for the question. Thank you, and for the clarification. I saw a hand raised earlier. I see it's down now. Do we have any additional comments on this item?
Move to approve, Paris.
Okay, we have a
Second,
motion.
Corona.
We have a second. Roll call, please.
District 1,
District 1, yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastville,
Aye.
Emmett,
Yes.
Rupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Moreno Valley,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Paris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes.
Excellent, thank you. That brings us to item number 9, and that's construction and maintenance agreement with BNSF Railway for Interstate 15 South Route 91 Express Lanes Connector Project. David Thomas, I think you have a presentation for us.
Yeah, good afternoon, Commissioners. Just a short presentation. As stated, this item is for a construction and maintenance agreement with BNSF for the 1591 Express Lanes Connector Project. Next slide. So just a quick review of the scope of the project. You can see the orange line work there in the diagram represents actually 2 connectors. And if you look at the little inset blow up there, you'll see 2 movements, the east to north connector and then the south to west connector. Both of those orange connectors are part of this project. Both of those structures cross over the BNSF tracks at the Porphyry Yard location, depicted on the diagram as the red dash line running through. Again, this item is for a construction maintenance agreement with BNSF. It's a 3-party agreement, which also includes Caltrans. We're currently in the design build phase of the contract, and basically been under design for about a year. And we've come up with basically the design that's needed at each of those crossings or each of those bridges. The C&M agreement includes costs for temporary and permanent right-of-way, which would be the footing easements for the structures that we need to construct, as well as the temporary construction license from BNSF. Then it also includes for construction the cost of flagging, which BNSF provides to the project, and then the field supervision and other construction related costs that BNSF provides. So that's basically what is included in this BNSF agreement. I'll go to the next slide. The request for the committee today is to approve this agreement with BNSF for the amount of $1,988,607. A contingency, which is roughly about 5% of $104,470, for a total not to exceed $2,093,077, and authorize executive director pursuant to legal counsel review to finalize negotiations with BNSF and execute the agreement on behalf of the commission. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Do we have any questions or comments on this item from commissioners? I actually have one. For the contingency amount, generally it's a little higher. Why 5% instead of 10? And I'm not complaining. I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the cost of this, the $2 million, is roughly made up of about half of that cost is the right-of-way acquisition cost, and that's a negotiated amount. And therefore, we've already come to agreement with BNSF on that amount, working with our right-of-way department. And so we don't need a contingency for the right-of-way costs. And then the remaining construction cost, which includes the flagging, it's an estimate of the costs that will be needed. And therefore, we've added a contingency just to that amount in the contract.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions or comments on this item from commissioners? Okay, hearing none. Do we have any questions or anybody wishing to speak on this item from the public? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion.
So
Motion
moved,
to
Verona.
approve, Liston.
Okay, we have a couple of firsts. We'll count one of those as a second. Roll call, please.
District 1,
District 1, yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastville,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Rupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Marina Valley,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes.
Excellent, thank you. That brings us to item number 10. That's an agreement for California Highway Patrol Construction Zone Enhancement Enforcement and Program Services during the construction of the Commission's highway projects. Mr. Johnston.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Bryce Johnston, and I'm the RCTC Construction Manager. I'm here today to present this request to enter a 5-year contract in the amount of $4 million with the California Highway Patrol. Slide. RCTC utilizes Construction Zone Enhanced Enforcement Program known as COZI to assist our construction projects in traffic control and improve overall safety for the project. Construction projects utilize COZI for the more significant traffic impact operations, such as full freeway closures, ramp closures, and lane closures of 2 or more lanes. In the past year, the CHP has changed its policy and will only enter into agreements which are 3 months in length and with a maximum value of $50,000. This duration and value are the limits that a local CHP office can enter into. This has caused significant administrative effort to renew these contracts, and we end up with little time to get agreements into place and having a risk of COZI not being available when needed. Slide. In December of last year, RCTC began working with the California Highway Patrol headquarters in Sacramento to put into place a countywide agreement that would be available to all RCTC projects for an extended period of time. This would eliminate the need for the 3 months agreements. Staff estimated a potential of $4 million as the value for all COZI required over the next 5 years for all of the Commission's existing highway projects, as well as future projects that we're currently working on. In summary, we are requesting the committee to approve a 5-year agreement in the amount of $4 million and forward to the Commission for final approval. Slide. So thank you for this opportunity to present this request, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Bryce. Appreciate it. Do we have any questions from commissioners or comments on this item? Yes, Commissioner Hoffman.
No comment. I think he did a good job getting that extended to the length of time. There's no sense in going back every 3 months. So I applaud them for doing that. I think this is probably expedites a lot of trouble. So I appreciate what you did in that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Quick question. This is an amount up to, this is not that we are approving $4 million and that's how much it will be. It is based off of services provided, correct?
Yes, the 4 million is strictly an estimate that we'll tap into for each project. So there is a potential that much less would be expended. And so we will only expend what we utilize.
Excellent. Appreciate it. Thank you for that clarification. Do we have any other comments or questions from commissioners? Okay. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Okay, I concur with Commissioner Hoffman. This is great, taking care of some of the administrative difficulties with this. All right, I'm looking for a motion.
Yeah,
Move to approve, Paris.
Okay, we got a motion and a second in there. Roll call,
I
please.
only heard Paris. I'm sorry.
Oh,
1 second.
yeah, that I'm
I heard
gonna get
several people talking, but I couldn't identify.
Menifee, Mayor Zimmerman.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
District 1,
District 1, yes.
District 5,
Yes.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastville,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Harupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
yes.
Moreno Valley,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes.
Excellent, thank you. That brings us to item number 11, and that's agreements for freeway service patrol tow truck service. Michelle McCamish.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. This item is for the award of freeway service patrol towing contracts. The Commission operates an FSP program which consists of a fleet of contracted tow operators that actively rove the busiest freeway segments, also known as beats, of Riverside County during peak AM/PM weekday commutes, as well as midday and weekend service on select beats. In doing so, FSP is able to provide immediate relief to stranded motorists they encounter while roving the freeways. FSP assists motorists by changing flat tires, taping hoses, providing water for a radiator, providing a jump start or a gallon of gas, all of which is done at no cost to the motorist. The Commission, acting in its capacity as a SAFE or Service Authority for Freeway Emergencies for Riverside County, administers this program in partnership with Caltrans and the CHP. Currently, the FSP program covers nearly 129 centerline miles in Riverside County and consists of 12 beats, plus coverage within the SR 91 and the new I-15 express lanes. For each of these beats, the Commission contracts with a tow operator to provide service. In fiscal year 20, RCTC's FSP program recorded over 49,000 assists, and this fiscal year through March 2021 so far, there have already been over 44,000 assists. This item is for the award of 3 FSP beats. Beat 4 is on the SR 91 from Magnolia to the 6091 215 interchange. Beat 7 is on SR 60 from Milliken to Main Street. And Beat 8 covers portions of both SR 60 and I-215 near that interchange. All 3 of these beats operate with 2 trucks each. An RFP for these 3 beats was released in April, and bids were received from 3 tow companies for each of the 3 beats. An evaluation committee comprised of CHP, SBCTA, OCTA, and Commission staff evaluated each proposal in accordance with the evaluation criteria set forth in the RFP. As a result of the evaluation committee's assessment of the written proposals and interviews, the evaluation committee recommends contract awards for FSP tow truck services on beats 4, 7, and 8 to Pepe's Towing. Each contract is for a 5-year term in the amount of $1,666,787, plus a contingency of $83,340 for a total amount not to exceed $1,750,127. The contingency amount is 5% and is used to cover extra work such as unforeseen construction coverage. Pepe's is currently an FSP tow service provider in good standing and has provided service for the Commission's FSP program on various beats since 1996. Currently, Pepe's operates 6 of the Commission's 12 beats, and they are the incumbent on these 3 beats, so there will be no disruption in service or burden on Pepe's to staff appropriately in time for the start of the contract. Staff is recommending approval of these 3 FSP towing contracts with Pepe's Towing for the continuation of FSP service on beats 4, 7, and 8, And I'll just close by saying that today is actually RCTC's 28th FSP birthday. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Awesome. Thank you for the presentation. 28 years. Good timing on that. All right. Do we have any commissioners that would like to speak on this or have any comments, questions on this item? Okay. Everybody is sold on the service that these companies provide, and I remember seeing a video about how people said, you know, these guys are heroes, and they truly are, keeping our motorists safe. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Okay. Looking for a first and a second.
Come on, everybody's quiet. There's moves.
Norco seconds.
All right, we have a first and a second. Let's do a roll call, please.
Thank you. District 1,
District 1, yes.
District 5,
Abstain.
Corona,
Aye.
Eastville,
Aye.
Hemet,
Yes.
Rupa Valley,
Yes.
Menifee,
Yes.
Moreno Valley,
Yes.
Marietta,
Yes.
Norco,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. The item does pass.
Excellent. Thank you. So that brings us pretty close to the end of our meeting here, but now is the time that we have for commissioners or staff reports. Okay, yes. Anne, please.
Okay, thank you. So commissioners, so it's kind of funny, after all of these months of having great technology at home, I'm back in the office and I can't make anything work. So anyway, I'll perfect it for next time. So that's why it's showing up. My audio is on my phone and I'm here with the screen. So it's really kind of funny, but it is great to be back in the office and to be able to see some of the team members. So I did want to provide a little bit of an update. As I shared with you all last week, RCTC professionals are working closely with our partners, Caltrans, City of Corona, County Transportation Department, to gather data and analyze congestion issues on southbound I-15 in Corona. Since this has been the subject of recent conversations at public meetings, I thought I would provide a brief update here as well. We're working with our partners to identify solutions to reduce congestion and delay to the extent possible. We're reviewing traffic conditions in the general purpose lanes and the express lanes. We're looking at travel times. We're looking at on-ramp volumes, and we're looking at ramp meter timing. This includes working with the city and the county to gather available data on local road traffic to determine what routes are being used by cut-through traffic. In addition, we're exploring options to accelerate the I-15 COP, which will ease the transition from the widened segment of the corridor to the original 3-lane section, and also help us address the now significant traffic volumes getting on the freeway from Cahelco Road. It'll take us a bit of time to analyze the data and to develop recommendations for consideration. The data is really important now because we're starting to return to or see a post-COVID traffic pattern. New traffic patterns are emerging. Volumes, time of day is shifting, of travel is shifting. And those trends are not always consistent with the trends we saw prior to COVID. So we'll not only be analyzing current day data, but we'll also be looking at historical data as well, so we can try to have the best recommendations possible for you. So we'll be keeping you updated, and I assure you that we're doing everything that we can within RCTC's purview to make improvements to the system, and I will continue to keep you all updated. Thank you. That completes my report.
Thank you. Appreciate that, and appreciate the updates that you send along as well. Let's see here. Supervisor, you see you have your hand raised.
Yes, I did. Just a comment, quick comment on what we had just voted for before. You know, tow truck drivers die at a higher rate than highway patrol officers do. They have one of the most dangerous jobs there are. You know, I thought it was interesting that we all jumped on the board to move that. You know, especially Mayor Vargas probably should have recused himself because he used to be part of the you know, public safety brotherhood or whatever. But again, that's a reminder that, you know, these tow truck drivers, they're out there, they're doing, you know, I lost a good friend's husband to that just a few years ago. So let's keep them in our hearts. And I think we also learned that contingencies are contingent on a lot more than just percentages and stuff. So that was a good schooling, I think, for a lot of us. It is until it isn't type thing. So that's my comments.
Thank you, sir. All right, Commissioner, speak.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank the Executive Director. I appreciate the summary. It's very much appreciated, and I will share that with my colleagues. And again, thank you to you and staff for continuing to work on this important issue. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other presentations from commissioners or staff? Seeing none, that brings us to our adjournment. So the next Western Riverside County Programs and Projects Committee meeting is scheduled to be held at 1:30 p.m. Monday, July 26th, 2021 via Zoom. Thank you all for taking time out of your schedules to be here today, and great job. Thanks, everybody.